English Literature, Introduction to Poetry. Farnhill, Dylan Thomas. Brief questions with answers. Question 1. When and where was Dylan Thomas born? Answer. Dylan Thomas was born in Wales on October 27, 1914 and died in America on October 19, 1953. Question 2. What literary tradition did Dylan Thomas follow? Answer. He followed no particular literary tradition. One can find his poetry, dadaism, surrealism, romanticism, traces of metaphysical poetry, and many more. Question 3. When was Farnhill first published and in which collection? Answer. Farnhill was first published in 1946 in his collection of poems called Deaths and Entrances. Question 4. To what literary tradition does Farnhill fit well? Answer. Farnhill fits well to romantic tradition of Wordsworth. Question 5. Where is Farnhill, to whom it belonged? Answer. Farnhill is in Carmarthenshire, Wales, United Kingdom. It belonged to Dylan Thomas's aunt, Anne Jones, and her husband. Question 6. What type of book is Dylan Thomas's Portrait of the Artist as a Young Dog? Answer. Dylan Thomas's Portrait of the Artist as a Young Dog, 1940, is a collection of stories that reflect the bohemian lifestyle that he and his wife, Kathleen McNamara, lived for some years. Question 7. What does a setting of a poem mean? Where is Farnhill set? Answer. Setting of a poem means the backdrop, a place including its surrounding and atmosphere where the incidents take place. Farnhill is set on the Farnhill, a farm in Wales. Question 8. What are the major themes of Farnhill? Answer. The major themes of Farnhill are time, youth, happiness, and change. Question 9. What is the verse form used in Farnhill? Answer. The verse form used in Farnhill is called open verse. Question 10. What do you understand by the dingle starry in Farnhill? Answer. The phrase means a shiny small valley full of trees. Question 11. What does the lilting house mean? Answer. It means a house full of soft music. Question 12. Name the figure of speech in happy as the grass was green. Answer. There is a simile because there is an open comparison in it. Question 13. What figure of speech do you find in time let me hail and climb? Answer. Time is a personification because it acts like a living being. Question 14. Name the figure of speech in I was prince of the apple towns. Answer. There is a metaphor in it because I, the speaker, has been implicitly compared to a prince and the apple towns has been compared to a kingdom. Question 15. What does once below a time mean? Answer. It means once in the past. Question 16. What do you understand by the windfall light? Answer. By the phrase the windfall light, we understand the light blown down by wind. Question 17. Name the figure of speech in happy yield. Answer. The figure of speech in it is called transferred epithet. Here the adjective happy is generally used before person, but it has been used here before yield. Question 18. What is meant by I was green? Answer. By I was green, the speaker means that he was young and fresh. Question 19. Name the figure of speech in singing as the farm was home. Answer. There is a simile in it because the farm has been compared to home explicitly. Question 20. What does the speaker means when he says the son that young once only? Answer. When the speaker says the son that is young once only, he means that the son looks young only in the childhood of a person. He might have also suggested that in the cycle of a day, only the rising sun looks young. In that case, the sun symbolizes man's life. Question 21. Find out figure of speech in and green and golden I was huntsman and herdsman. Answer. There are two cases of alliteration because G and H have been repeated. There are also metaphors because the speaker implicitly compares himself to the grass and sunbeam, and huntsman and herdsman. Question 22. What do you understand by the lines, and the Sabbath rang slowly in the pebbles of the holy streams? Answer. For Christian, the Sunday is Sabbath, a holiday for praising God. On Sundays, the speaker used to hear the echo of religious songs in the sound of the water flowing over the pebbles in the streams. He gives here a religious touch to the landscape. Question 23. What does sun mean in all the sun long? Answer. In all the sun long, sun means day. Question 24. Name the figure of speech in the hay fields high as the house. Answer. There is a simile in it. Question 25. What does "and fire green as grass" mean? Name the figure of speech in it. Answer. The speaker must have in mind the green part of flames. However, it is more likely that he uses green as a symbol for the happiness and carefree attitude of youth. The name of the figure of speech in it is simile. Question 26. Name the figure of speech in "as I rode to sleep." What does the quoted line mean? Answer. There is a metaphor in it because going to bed has been implicitly compared with riding a horse. The quoted line means that the speaker fell asleep very quickly. Question 27. How is it possible for owls to bear away the farm as described in the line, "The owls were bearing the farm away"? Answer. It is possible in dream. The speaker in his childhood dreamed that owls were carrying away the farm. Question 28. What does "all the moon long" mean? Answer. It means through the whole night. Question 29. How could the nightjars fly with the ricks in farm hill? Answer. Ricks are heaps of hay in rectangular of round shapes with tops to protect them from rain. They are too big for the nightjars to carry. It is possible that the child speaker dreamed in his sleep that the nightjars were flying with ricks. Question 30. Name the figure of speech in the horses flashing into the dark. What does it mean? Answer. The figure of speech in it is called metaphor because the flash of light has been compared with the speed of the horses. It means the speaker dreamed that the horses with their open eyes ran out of the stables very fast. Question 31. What does the simile in "form like a wanderer, white with the dew, come back" signify? Answer. When the child got up in the morning, he found the farm covered with snow, and it looked like a wanderer who traveled the whole night gathering snow all over his body. The speaker suggests here the freshness of the new day as if it were the dawn of creation. Question 32. Name the figure of speech in "it was Adam and maiden." Answer. Here it is an allusion to the Bible. Question 33. What do you understand by the line, "so it must have been after the birth of simple light"? Name the figure of speech in it. Answer. The speaker here suggests that the first dawn created by God on the landscape of the Garden of Eden possibly was like the morning sun he saw in his childhood. It is a simile because there is comparison between the dawn portrayed by the speaker and the first dawn created by God. Question 34. What does "happy as the heart was long" mean? Name the figure in it. Answer. It is an innovation from the conventional phrase "as happy as the day is long", meaning unceasingly happy or happy to a very high degree. The speaker uses it to mean that his heart was unceasingly full of joys. There is a simile in it. Question 35. What figure of speech is there in heedless ways used in farm hill? Answer. The figure of speech is transfer epithet. The adjective heedless has been transferred from a person to wise. Though the epithet has been used before the wise, it means that the speaker heedless, not the wise. Question 36. Name the figure of speech in At My Sky Blue traits used in Fernhill. What does it mean? Answer. Sky blue traits has been used as a symbol to suggest happy games of a child. Question 37. To whom does the speaker refer as him in the lines before the children green and golden follow him out of grace? What do the lines mean? Answer. By him, he refers to time. These lines mean that time kindly offered the speaker the childhood of unbound happiness, but now he realizes that time has taken him away from that happiness. Question 38. What figure of speech do you find in the lamp white days? Answer. It is a metaphor because the innocence of the childhood days has implicitly been compared to the innocence of white lambs, a biblical symbol. Question 39. What image do you find in I should hear him fly with the high fields? Answer. Here is an image of time that has taken the shape of a big bird. It is flying away with the fields where the speaker passed his happy days. In fact, time is taking away the happiness of the child. Question 40. What does the speaker suggest in the lines, time held me, green and dying, though I sang in my chains like the sea? Answer. The speaker suggests in these lines that time offered him happiness in childhood and the feeling of death in adulthood. He was caught in the wave of memory knowledge. So he sang the sad song of reality in deep unconsciousness, denoted by the sea. Okay, thank you viewers for watching my video.